Around the world, we don't build good buildings. Most buildings aren't really as good as they could be, or anywhere near as good as it could be. So I think the Erne campus here sets a new standard in terms of construction detailing, material selection, execution on site, commissioning and all of that. You can have a huge glazed facade like this and not have overheating if you know what you're doing in terms of shading. You can have a lot of internal heat gains in buildings, like a cookery school and a hairdresser school, without overheating the building if you have a good ventilation system. You can have very low energy bills if you build it airtight and you've got good insulation levels and you look after the thermal bridging. So I think what this project here does is it makes all the concepts real. People know the principles, but they rarely have a chance to actually experience them in the flesh. So I think it's going to be very motivating for anybody who gets the opportunity to visit here. This building is quite special because much of the thermal envelope is timber frame. And timber, as we know, is basically solid carbon. Trees grow by sucking carbon out of the air, and you simply couldn't build in anything better but timber. So I see that as being a big trend. I see also a trend on finally people are beginning to realise the importance of ventilation. You can't turn on your radio or your TV nowadays and people are talking about air changes. And of course in the passive house community we've been talking about that forever. So finally now this whole ventilation, air changes is coming into the public discourse, and I think passive house is kind of set up for that, so that's going to feed into that really, really well. And I think also people are starting to demand higher standards essentially. When I was growing up, as a young person, we just put up with discomfort, we put up with drafts, we put up with mold, we put up with condensation, but people are not as willing to accept that now. So I think, this is all feeding into the key word, which is quality really, so that's where we're going, I think.